I want to begin today's devotional this Friday, July the 16th, with a word of explanation. I have been away on vacation visiting my parents, and I am just now able to come back to you with today's devotional. I have a couple of weeks of devotionals to catch up on. I promise I will do that, but for right now, allow me to present for you today's devotional. Now, the title of this devotional is Integrity is a Rare Virtue, and it's taken from 1 Samuel chapter 26. Now, in 1 Samuel 26, David is presented a second opportunity to kill his enemy, the king, Saul, and in spite of the appeal of his servants to take advantage of the opportunity, David refused, reasoning it would be a serious sin if he stretched forth his hand against the Lord's anointed. Now, allow me to give you the occasion. We find it in 1 Samuel 26, verses 1 through 19. David had come to Judah to seek safety among his own kinsmen, he being a member of the tribe of Judah. However, for a second time, the Ziphites, a family of the tribe of Judah, betrayed his hiding place to King Saul. Whether out of fear of Saul or seeking his favor, the treachery of one's own was especially egregious. And Saul, breaking his covenant with David that he established in 1 Samuel 24, mobilized 3,000 soldiers to pursue and killed David. When David confirmed Saul's encampment, he sought for a companion who would accompany him to the camp of his enemy. Now, while the king slept, David and Abishai slipped into the enemy camp, into Israel's camp, and out of the king's encampment without ever wakening any of the soldiers. He took with him Saul's spear and a cruse or a clay jar of water. Now, David ascended to a hill overlooking Israel's encampment, and David cried out and awakened the army, taunting Abner, the king's general, his bodyguard, if you would, for his failure to protect the king from harm. Well, Saul recognized David's voice, and he disingenuously asked, "Is this thy voice, my son David?" Now, though he was an enemy, David honored the king, saying, "It is my voice, my lord, O king." Now, rather than accuse the king, David asked, "Wherefore doth my lord thus pursue after his servant? For what have I done? Or what evil is in mine hand?" And then David appealed to the king's spirit, and he challenged the evil reports of other men who had turned the heart of the king against him. Now we find in 1 Samuel 26, verses 21 through 25, where Saul confessed that he had played the fool and had erred exceedingly. David then presented Saul's spear and proved that he could have taken the king's life, but had instead determined he would not stretch forth his hand against the Lord's anointed. David, you see, had demonstrated integrity towards the king. And Saul acknowledged his testimony, saying, and I read 1 Samuel 26, verse 25, "Blessed be thou, my son David. Thou shalt both do great things, and also shalt still prevail." Now, though he had an opportunity to kill his enemy, David had chosen to appeal to the king, and with humility requested, 1 Samuel 26, verse 20, "Let not my blood fall to the earth before the face of the Lord, for the king of Israel is come out to seek a flea," David referring to himself, "as when one doth hunt a partridge in the mountains." Well, David and Saul parted. David went on his way, and Saul returned to his home. Let me close with a thought about integrity. Integrity is a rare virtue in our day. It is true for politics, it's true for the media, and sadly, a lack of integrity is found today in the pulpit. In fact, there are few men whose lives are guided by immutable principles. But David was such a man. He was, in the Lord's words, a man after his own heart. David was not a perfect man. We'll see that in 1 Samuel 27. However, he loved the Lord. From his youth, he was an honorable son, a loyal friend, and a faithful servant. Let me close with this thought. David was heroic in his deeds, humble in his walk. David was a man of integrity. I wonder, what kind of man or woman are you? A man of integrity is one that is true to immutable principles. He and she will be a man or a woman of conviction. God help us to be men of integrity in the wicked day in which we live. This devotional now will be followed by a second devotional in 1 Samuel chapter 27. God bless. Bye-bye.